This is Andrew Clendenin with the World of Texas Music. Today's episode will feature Leah Lane. Leah is the vocalist and lead guitarist for the band Rosegarden Funeral Party. Leah has a very powerful voice and is quite the inspiring artist. Her watchwords are humble, kind, gentle, and honest. Leah is from the school of goth. Leah Lane, welcome to the world of Texas music. Leah Lane, even your name is poetic. Alliteration, like leaping lions and red roses. The name Leah means weary, and the definition of weary is being tired from excessive exertion or lack of sleep. And lane, that's okay. And lane is a narrow road. Leah Lane, does that describe you?
Wow. It's really funny that you say that because my whole life growing up, I got into name meanings, and I went up to my parents and was like, "You named me tired and weary," and now at this point in my life, yes, absolutely. Leah Lane is my real name. My parents gave me a superhero name, and so yeah, no, I think that does describe me, contradictory to the contrary of what a younger me thought. I've got so much energy, but yeah, weary from constant exertions, definitely.
Yeah.
And I do walk a narrow road. I always want to be kind and appreciative and humble and gracious, and I don't really allow myself to not be that. So yeah, that does, I guess, describe
sums it up.
Yeah.
Your name sums you up. Yeah. I like that. I think we should talk about current world events and how you think the coronavirus is affecting or impacting artists.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm glad that you've brought that up because that's something that I actually posted about on our social media today. I have a lot of friends who are artists, and my friends that aren't artists are avid showgoers. They're either photographers or they just love music. And kind of stepping away from the political or economic ramifications of it and focusing more on what it does to the mental health of the people who love music. I mean, when it all first started coming up, it didn't scare me all that much. And then I started to see shows just getting dropped, festivals getting canceled, tours stopping, and then South by canceled. Sure. And that was so shocking. And then the next week that followed that, this past week, I just watched all of my friends post our tour is canceled, this tour is canceled, I can't believe it, whatever. And I think the accumulation is what started to kind of take the toll on all of us. And I had lunch with my friend Dahlia Knowles, who's Lorelei K, an amazing artist from Denton, yesterday. And I was sitting there with her as I watched her shows get canceled. I watched her get the notifications, get the text or the emails that her shows were falling through. And I watched her heartbreak, and it really hit me last night. When I went to go see another great Dallas band, Sub-Sahara, play. I don't know how long it'll be until small clubs aren't doing their shows anymore.
Right.
I don't know how long it will be until this is all on lockdown. And so it's kind of a terrifying thing because I know for a lot of us, the part of this that we love the most and get the most out of is, the connections we make at shows.
Sure.
The people that we play for, or the people that play for us, or, the friends that you make when you're both in the audience. It weighs so heavily on my heart. And I think that in the coming weeks or months or however long it takes to get this to die down, I think that us as artists need to really be pragmatic about coming up with ways to ensure that we still connect with our fans and friends and family in the scene, because we are going to be kind of quarantined off in a way that it's never been before.
Yeah, it's already happening.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and it's so sad.
Well, the world's a scary place right now, for sure.
Yeah.
But maybe, and we certainly have prayers and thoughts that go out to people that are affected by this.
Oh, for sure. And we don't want to spread it. And that's kind of, I think, the catch-22 is that my attitude towards a lot of things is just who cares? Just go. It'll be fine. Just do it. In cold season or whatever, if we get sick, we get sick. But this is so much more serious, you know, and it's really kind of put, I think, a lot of artists, venue owners, promoters, festival, like producers, like all in this really hard place because, of course, they don't want to lose the money. But like, aside from that, it's, you know, you want to throw the festival, you want to throw the show, but you don't want to get anybody sick. Like you don't want somebody at your venue to be the reason why, you know, Dallas now has a giant outbreak like Italy. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And this, yeah, it is. It's so scary and so sad because you really are just kind of left with no real option other than to buy a whole bunch of toilet paper.
The shelves are empty.
Yeah.
Well, we got past that, and I'm glad we talked about it.
Yeah.
So for all you guitar geeks out there, myself included, let's talk about guitars.
Okay, I'd love to.
Most often you play a Fender Jazzmaster.
Yes.
You also play a Fender Telecaster and a Mossrite. Mm-hmm. Tell us why you play those particular guitars.
So I'll start with the Mossrite because it's not mine anymore, but it has a really cool story. When my friend Neil Ryan Tucker, who's also in a great band called Neil Ryan and the Mistreated, which you guys should check out. But I'm name dropping a lot.
Go ahead. But, that's what it's for.
Yeah. He had purchased that guitar like when it was just a body and repaired it and restored it with all original parts, which took him forever. And then he had to sell it, as a lot of musicians have to, you know, sometimes let go of their babies.
The pawn shop.
Right. And he sold it to the guitar center he was working at up in Denton. And my friend who was up there at the time texted me and he was like, "You've got to come get this guitar." Because he knew I was in the market. And I came up there and Kevin Shields had one. So from My Bloody Valentine. So I was like, yes. So I bought it. And then the guy who had restored it, you know, had sold it to Guitar Center and then I bought it. Never stopped asking me about it. He was like, "How's my guitar? How's it playing? You having fun with it?" And eventually I was just like, "Man, take it back." You know? So I sold it to him. And actually with the money that I sold it to him with, I bought my Jazzmaster. And my Jazzmaster was the first guitar that I ever bought that made me feel like a real guitar player. Something about the contours of the body, the shape of the body. Kevin Shields describes it as it always looks like it's moving forward, which I love. And I love the extended scale length on the neck. I love soap bar pickups. I've always been a fan of P90s. They're very similar. The Jazzmaster made sense, along with the fact that like several of my favorite guitar players, I already mentioned Kevin Shields, but Joshua Hayward is a giant inspiration for me, and he's been like he always uses a Jazzmaster. But so that's kind of what led me to the Jazzmasters. You know, like you have these people that influence you, so you want to sound like them, so you play that guitar, you know, to get the same effect. And then my Telecaster I've had since I was 13. That guitar has almost been with me a decade. It's been on every single tour I've ever gone on. My dad and I, when I was like a preteen, like 11, 12, my dad introduced me to the Pretenders, and Chrissy Hine always played tellies. And I told my dad I wanted a Telecaster, and he told me that was the ugliest guitar I'd ever seen in his life. And he said, "Baby, I could make that in my garage." And then he found out that Chrissy Hine played one, and he was like, "Oh no, I love him." So then we started this like quest for a Telecaster that was kind of similar to hers. And, you know, I was a kid. I was making money doing chores for neighbors and stuff like that. So I didn't have money for a custom shop. Neither did he. So we were just scrounging around on the internet looking for like a unicorn deal. And it had been about 2 years just like playing with the ideas of different tellies and daydreaming, just fun, father, daughter, whatever. And then one day we walked into the Guitar Center on 635, the Platinum store, and that guitar was hanging up, used.
Waiting for you.
Yeah, totally. And $700, which was ridiculous. It's a 1984 made in Japan 62 reissue. And immediately I was like, "Dad, I'll split it. Like, and then I'll work with you to like get the rest back to you." And he was like, "Sure." So we got it. And I had it really before I even was a guitar player, because at the time I was playing keyboards in a band, and I just let my bandmates use it, and so it got life kind of bled into it that way. And then when that band broke up, I started another band, and then I started using that guitar more. And then when that band broke up and I started Rosegarden Funeral Party, it became kind of my primary instrument. But yes, that Telecaster will be buried with me. If I choose to be cremated, it will also be cremated with me. We'll go in together to the fire. So yeah, I love my guitars. I'm very sentimental about them.
They're special.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I had purchased one in order to not get attached to it, which is I got a Troy Van Leeuwen, that signature Jazzmaster, and it like got stolen like maybe.
Oh no.
I was just happy it was that one. Like, thank God that was the purpose, hooray. It was not my baby's, but so yeah, I don't know. Guitars are cool.
Was the guitar your first instrument, or you mentioned keyboards? Did you play keyboards first?
No, I played guitar first, but I never really got great at it. I was way more into writing songs than being a shredder, and so I guess so. I got asked to join the first serious band that I was in when I was in the 8th grade, and the front man asked me if I wanted to play keyboards, and I was like, I don't play keyboards, and he was like, well, that's fine, you'll learn, because it's just organ, like it's like it was like a 60s psychedelic band, so that's kind of what I was playing.
Use your elbow.
Yeah, exactly. But no, guitar was definitely my first, and so I was a keyboard player, and then I was a keyboard player and a rhythm guitar player. So some songs I play rhythm guitar, and some songs I play keyboard, and it wasn't until Rosegarden Funeral Party that I took on this role of, okay, I'm a lead guitar player now and I need to play like one. And so it's only been about 2 years that I've been seriously trying to progress as a guitarist, but I've played guitar since I was 10, maybe. Yeah.
You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
I'm working on it.
Was music part of your family when you were growing up?
Yeah, it was, for sure. My mom grew up playing piano and singing, and my father was and still is, I think, the youngest French horn player ever to be allowed to play with the DSO for the summer musicals.
Right.
Yeah.
French horn's a difficult
very
instrument
difficult
to play.
My dad is amazing.
Left-handed also.
Yes, he's left-handed. Yeah. And so he and my mother both contributed a lot to us getting into music. My mom really raised my brother, who's my bassist, and I on the Beatles. And so we were Beatles kids for sure. It wasn't until I was in the 6th grade that I realized that the Beatles, okay, sorry, I said that wrong. It wasn't until I was in the 6th grade that I realized that not everybody knows all the Beatles song lyrics like nursery rhymes. I was confused by the way you don't know the Beatles? It was really funny. And it's funny too, because as I get older, I meet other Beatles kids and I'm like, oh, I see you. I know that. And my dad always played 60s pop. So my mom was more on the edgy side of the 60s, and my dad was more into the Dave Clark 5 and the Everly Brothers and Peter and Gordon, and
great music.
Oh, I love all of that. That's what taught me how to write songs. Well, that, and in particular Ricky Nelson and Patsy Cline, those song structures taught me everything, because I learned all the songs and then realized they were all the same.
Right. Great models, though.
Exactly, but it's all about the lyrics and the melody. That's where I think a song lies.
You bet.
Yeah.
What was your first memory of music?
Oh gosh, you're gonna love this. So and I think it actually might be my earliest memory, was sitting in front of those TVs that had the Technicolor lights under them. I swear to God, I don't think I've ever seen one since this one moment in my memory, but my dad sat me down in front of it, and I was a little kid, and we were hanging out, and he turned on this DVD of just Cher music videos, because my dad loves Cher, and Turn Back Time, the music video where she's on the battleship, that was my earliest memory of an artist playing music. And I always tell people, obviously it had no effect on me at all. But yeah, no, that's my earliest memory of music for sure, is that music video of Cher doing Turn Back Time.
How and when did you decide to choose music for a career?
Well, that question is different than the one that people normally ask, which is when did you decide?
Or bad?
No, it's good. It's way easier to answer, because a lot of people ask the question of, when did you decide to become a musician? And it's like, that's kind of difficult for any real musician to answer. It's like, you didn't decide, like it chose you,
right.
But there was definitely a moment when I decided that I wanted to do it as a career. And I think I was probably in about the 8th grade, and I had other things going, but the other things going were getting just as big as the music, or not big. It's not like I was big in the 8th grade. Like getting just as time consuming. So they were conflicting with each other. And my dad said to me, honey, at some point you're just going to have to choose. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And I held off and I held off and I held off. And then about 18, I was like, I choose this.
Here's the crossroads.
Right. And I put down my other projects that I was working on, and I just focused solely on music.
Was it art related?
No, it was a sport.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't talk about it ever. And I'm like looking at my phone like, oh gosh. And it's going to be on this. I don't care. I grew up riding horses, like doing equestrian events. So I grew up, doing eventing, the dressage, stadium jumping, cross country, and got pretty far in it, and got to a place where I was about to go do it professionally. And it was at that moment where I was like, well, if I actually take this next step, I can't do music anymore. And
so you realized there wasn't room for both.
There wasn't. And it was
that heartbreaking for you to leave one and take the other, or? It
was kind of easy only by way of the fact that I realized I'm pretty self-aware, and my parents raised me to be super self-aware, and so I can check myself a lot. And so even when emotions are super overwhelming, it's easy for me to go in and dissect where the problem is. And for me, I realized that I was getting more and more and more depressed the further I was from music. So at the time that I made the decision, I was flying out every single weekend to do horse shows on the East Coast. And so I had to put my band on hold for 6 weeks. And I just plummeted. I was so sad. I felt like I was doing the wrong thing. I felt like I was on the wrong path. I felt like I wasn't doing what I was brought to this earth to do. It was really weird and existential. And as soon as I made the decision to commit myself to music, it evened out and all started to make sense again. So I know I made the right decision. I never think back on it. And I'm like, oh gosh, I wish I was still cleaning
lucky.
Up horse poop. I never think that or feel that way. So
you were lucky that you, at an early age, found the meaning and purpose of your life.
Oh, very, very. And that's another thing that I think about, and I kind of thank God for a lot, is the fact that I know who I am, I know what I am, and I know what I want to do. And because of that, even when I'm insecure, because I'm not a very confident or secure person, I'm just kind of an unabashed person. So I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to do it to death, So I'm very lucky that I found my identity early on, and I was able to just kind of cultivate it, because, yeah, it does kind of break my heart when I see people and my friends or family that are just I don't know what to do with my life. And I'm like, I cannot sympathize.
It happens. It happens.
And it totally happens. Or I can't empathize. Of course I can sympathize. You can always sympathize with people. But yeah. No, I'm very lucky. Blessed.
Name a few songs that really moved you emotionally when you heard them for the first time.
If You've Got Leaving on Your Mind by Patsy Cline.
That's a great one.
Yeah. When she goes, it was the first song that I ever heard and realized that you have to sing like you're talking to someone. You can't just sing the notes. When she goes, hurt me now, get it over. It sounds like she's talking to him. And I love that about it. And That was kind of a game changer for me, that song specifically, because I've shown my dad every single song I've ever written. And my dad used to say, you sing really flat mind, you need to add more emotion and expression in your voice. My dad's, he's a very honest guy. And so I started listening to Patsy Cline, and that's when I realized what he was talking about. I was like, oh, you have to sing like the person's in the room with you.
You have to act out the lyrics,
for
don't
sure.
you?
Yeah,
you have
and now
to live
I cry
the
on
words.
stage. So, but yeah, that one and "Sweeter Than You" by Ricky Nelson is amazing. "Change Your Mind" by the Horrors, if you go like a totally opposite direction.
That's another direction.
Yeah, for sure. That song's incredible. I'm definitely like a syrupy, I like the songs that break my heart and move me. Like "Don't Swallow the Cap" by The National, like definitely broke my heart the first time I heard it. I love that.
I don't see you as a syrupy type in your videos, but
No.
anyway.
No. I mean, it's all in the lyrics, I mean, I think I was raised playing rock and roll. That's a hard thing to get away from. It took me forever to be able to write songs not in a blues scale. Like I would sit there and just, no, that's still in the blues scale. Like it was ridiculous. But yeah, it's all in the lyrics and the melody and the intent, I guess.
All of it.
Yeah, all of it.
So music touches people in a special way. How do you think that works?
I don't know how it works neurologically, but I know that everybody struggles with kind of a fear of abandonment, whether it's, and obviously this is just my opinion. I can't speak for everybody, but in my opinion, the reason that music touches people, is such a big question, is that I think that everybody struggles with an element, or with a fear of abandonment to some degree.
Being alone.
Being alone. And when you're touched by a song, you know that song will always be there. You can always drop that needle. You can always put that tape in, or 8-track, or MP3, or CD, or WAV file, whatever it is, it'll always be there. I remember one night when I was probably like 14, 15, I was sitting in my friend's car with him on the edge of White Rock Lake, and we were listening to Cold Fame by Band of Skulls, and I had a real rough go of it, and that's why he picked me up and drove me around. And I looked at him and was crying, and I was like, as long as this song exists, as long as I can listen to this song, I'll be okay. And I think it's that you can place equity in those songs. And it's not like placing equity in an engagement ring or a guitar or a cat. Like those things will eventually, like with the guitar and the ring example, those things are cold, inanimate objects. With the cat, that's a cat. It's gonna die. I'm sorry. Like the thing about a song is there's humanity in a song, and it feels personal, and it feels close, and it feels genuine, and because that singer cares about whoever they're singing about, whether it's themselves or another person, that translates, and it feels like they care about you. And I think that's why music touches so many people, is because it's almost infectious. It's like that compassion, love, feeling, and passion. It's contagious. Yeah.
Very contagious and lives on.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, we've talked about Patsy Cline and Ricky Nelson like 3 times, and they're
here.
dead.
They're here though.
Yeah, they are. They're here every time you drop the needle on the record. And I think that there's, a lot of people want to create and be famous or whatever to be immortal. And that's cool. I've never really thought of it that's never been a driving factor for me, but it is true. You are immortal. Like, I don't think there'll ever be a time where we don't know who the Beatles are or David Bowie is, Like, I think that there might be a time in history where people don't listen to the Beatles or David Bowie, but they'll be in the history books. It's like
always,
because Bach's in the history books.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
Very mysterious. You can't touch it. You can't see it. You can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Can't taste it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
It's invisible.
Yeah. But it's always there, kind of like God.
Yeah. It's
yeah.
Once you hear this music, whatever it might be, through, as you said, Bach piece or
yeah,
goth or rock or jazz or
Yeah.
whatever you want to choose, and it moves you. Music moves us to sadness, happiness, joy, all those emotions that are human.
Yeah.
And that's what music does for us.
Yeah. And it brings people together. Best show I've ever seen is a band I would never list as like one of my favorite bands. And even on I got the tickets for free, and on my, like, because somebody else couldn't go. It's like my uncle and aunt couldn't go. I went to go see The Who. And the whole time I was going to see The Who, I was like, The Who's just like a wannabe Led Zeppelin, blah, 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 like just being bitter about it. I just hated Pete Townsend. Like, I hated the fact that I watched him ram his head into his cabinet and break his guitar, and I was dumb butt. Like, it's not my thing. But I went to go see The Who. Roger Daltrey blew my mind. He's amazing. And I wept uncontrollably at everyone in that room singing Bubba O'Reilly together. It was so unbelievably, 50,000 people all in this stadium singing this giant song that was meant for stadiums. Like, it brings people together. It didn't matter what race you are, what religion you were, like what sexual orientation you were, all the things that drive people apart. It doesn't matter when you're all singing the same song. And that's the coolest part about it.
Music does connect us.
Oh, yeah.
It goes beyond those barriers.
Yeah, it's like when you're at a bar and you meet somebody, you're like, there's no way we're going to have anything in common. And they're like, I like this band. You're like, oh, you like this band? That's it. We're going to be best friends because you totally get me because you like them.
Right.
And that's so cool. That's so cool.
Music's wonderful.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Where do your creative impulses come from?
Heartbreak.
Heartbreak. Only heartbreak.
Well, yeah, I think so, because even when I first started writing songs when I was in the 6th grade, I was like, read my lyrics to my parents, and they'd be like these horribly sad, depressing breakup songs, and my dad would be like, where are you getting this? I don't know, my brain. I'm really inspired by feelings of, like, unrequited love and loss and grief. And I've always been infatuated with them. And then I went through something that kind of gave me more of it than I ever thought I would have.
You got your dose?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and then some.
Yeah. He's going to be with me a long, long time. But I got my heart broken really, 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 really bad. And I'm still not over it. But I wrote Martyr about it. And Martyr, that record that Rosegarden just released, saved my life. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for that record. And the people that I met making that record and the friendships that I have now and the bond that record really solidified between my brother and I, like, who plays bass. Yeah, I derive all of my inspiration from personal heartache and personal experience. And a lot of, like, and as I'm kind of moving further away from the heartbreak of what happened to me, it's kind of like, there's that initial, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person that I love did that to me. How am I ever going to get over them? And then there's the initial shock. And then you've got to learn how to not be in love with them, because that doesn't come naturally.
Right.
And then, there's the kind of double retrospective where you're looking at how you allowed that to happen to yourself and the ramifications that it has on you now. And that's kind of where I guess my music is going on this next EP that we're going to release in June. It's very introspective, and it's like, rather than having the camera turned on him and the situation, now it's kind of turned more like right here, like right in the core of me. Yeah, because and here, because how they say that people who are like psychiatrists or psychologists, they get into it to figure out what the hell is wrong with them. That's kind of what I'm doing here. It's my form of therapy. It's my form of introspection and self-knowledge, and it's an attempt at self-awareness. And all of that is in an attempt to be a better person, because I don't want to hurt people.
Great goal.
Yeah, yeah. And I want people who hear my music to not want to hurt people. You know what I mean?
Of
it's
course.
like, it's taking a very humble, sweet approach to getting your heart broken, which I feel like is pretty rare. Normally you hear breakup songs and they're like, I hate you. And mine are like, wow, that really hurt. I hope you're okay someday. Like, so I don't know. I think that that's important. I don't know.
Well, pain, emotional pain, is certainly a catalyst for creativity.
Yeah,
and you see that in any art.
I mean, for me, yeah, it is the catalyst. Like for me, like I've never been like, oh, that was a great day. I'm gonna go write a song about it ever.
Talking about that, how do you approach songwriting?
Well,
you have a discipline. Do you get up every morning at 8:30 and
no, I wish that would be super cool. I'd probably write a whole bunch more songs that way. No, my whole songwriting started just by picking up a guitar and just singing over whatever chords I thought sounded cool together. And then that process has really not changed much. It's just become more refined. Like I said, I've showed my dad every song I've ever written first. And it's because when I was a kid, like 6th grade, whatever, my dad was the one that would listen. Like, my dad, I wrote a song. Will you listen to it? He'd listen to it. And my dad's always been like very sweet, but very honest. So it'd be like the melody is wandering and there's no repeating motif. And that wouldn't get stuck in my head. So like, you know, like I learned kind of how to write a hook, like how to make something like really, really make an impact on someone melodically. And there are 2 things that I will never forget about songwriting. One of them was said by my dad, and one of them was said by George Martin. And, you know, George Martin was the composer for the Beatles. Yeah. So George Martin said only give him the best part of the song once because it makes him want to listen to it again, which applied a whole bunch in the 60s and applies a whole bunch today with streaming.
Applies.
Yeah, exactly. So then my dad said, if a mother with no particular talent to sing couldn't hum your melody to her baby and it be recognizable, it's not a good melody.
What a great bit of advice.
I know, my dad. Props to you, John Ferrier. But yeah, no, I think that my approach to songwriting is it's very organic. I just sit down and sing until it makes sense. I don't think too hard about it. Some songs just come out as full-fledged songs the first time I pick up the guitar. Right. Like I'll feel this like weird kind of like, I'm gonna stop cleaning my room. Everything I'm doing, whether I'm working on Rose Garden stuff or cleaning my room or like, that's really
the daily chores.
I really just work on Rose Garden and sometimes clean my room. But yeah, like no matter what I'm doing, it will hit me. And when it hits me, I've had it hit me in public and I just like run out to the parking lot and like sing a song in my phone. And those have become real songs. But so some songs will come out in one take and then I listen back to the demo and I'm like, cool.
That works.
Done with that. I'll write a riff for that later, I guess. But yeah, it's really cool. I feel like they're like little blessings. They're like little, or maybe like little, they're either like little blessings of inspiration or they're like little compartmentalized trauma bottles bursting open at random times.
Exploding across your mind.
Exactly.
But, you know, I've had artists say this before. They feel like they're a conduit.
Yeah.
That it's kind of flowing through them. It's not really them per se. They know their craft, of course,
right.
And they know the instrumentation and the structure that they might want to go after. But there's something kind of, as you said, it just kind of happens. Yeah,
you know, I don't know if I feel like a conduit because that, to me, is kind of like, you know, like Robert Plant doesn't like Stairway to Heaven because he feels like the devil wrote it through him. Totally valid for him if he feels that way. I'm not trying to discredit his emotions or thoughts or feelings. Might have happened. But for me, I feel like I am a very compartmentalized person. I really don't allow myself to feel things a lot. Like when bad things happen to me, I like shove it way down inside me and I'm like, I'm fine. And so I think that when I'm singing, I don't have enough, you know, I just start word vomiting lyrics. That's how I write lyrics.
Word vomiting
lyrics, yeah. So like,
interesting term. Go ahead.
It's kind of gross, but it's like, I heard it once and I was like, that's what I'm doing. But no, like I've said this to my brother before. When you start singing over a chord progression and you got only a few seconds to make it work, you know, as you're going, your brain doesn't have time to be like, no, don't feel that way. No, shove that down. Like, no, you're fine. Like, don't act like you're not fine. Like, this is not a big enough deal for you to be this upset. Like, all those little thoughts, they don't have time to appear. So you just kind of start saying things about yourself. In my experience, I just start saying things about myself that I didn't even know yet.
So your subconscious is coming up through your subconscious.
It's definitely my subconscious. And it's definitely, like, I've always felt very split down the middle. I've got the more analytical side of me that pushes everything down. And then I've got this like emotional wreck. And so like sometimes I let the emotional wreck talk, but only when I'm singing. So yeah, I think that maybe I'm a conduit for a deeper version of myself, which I like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know if it's like, I've heard a lot of artists also say like, it's like something that takes over me. And I'm like,
not really.
I think more it's like, I hate going to therapy and this makes more sense to me. So,
so it's more like a psychiatrist meets the train wreck.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I'm both.
That's what I mean. So.
Exactly.
I see you have a trusty Gibson next to you. You want to do a song for us?
Sure, I'd love to.
Tell us what you're going to play and we'll let you go after.
Cool. So this song is going to be on the EP that we are going to be releasing in June, on June 18th to be exact, on Young and Cold Records, based out of Germany. And we're very excited about that and very happy to be a part of their label. And this is actually the most recent song I've written. And this song is one of those songs that just came out. I didn't really have to spend a whole bunch of time on it. There are songs that I've had to spend a little time on to create and complete. This one just came out, so I'll show it to you. It's simple now, but it'll get more Rose Garden-y. Is there anyone awake back home? I'm starting to feel alone again. In a room full of people, I'm the only one in it. Thought I heard your voice, but I know I didn't. I know I didn't. Is there anyone awake back home? I'm starting to feel like I know what it's like to move on, but waking up finding you gone still feels awkward and I hate it. I wish I could fake it so much better than this. So much better than this. What if I never come back from this forever part of my eternal darkness? Tell me what it's like to live on the other side. To live in love at night. All those flippin' drunken nights feel like little falls from grace. My hands feel stained, I can't find the place between salvation and saving face. And all the bad ways I cope, they show through my clothes. If a younger me could see me now, would she be horrified or proud? I was a martyr, you pulled me under. All of these scars I can't cover. I wish I were better, I wish it were over. You left my hyper heart out on the water. Promises are broken, hearts get stolen, and sometimes you don't get them back. Where's the exit? Where's the medication? How do I get rid of my dedication? If I never come back from this forever part of my eternal darkness, tell me what it's like to live on the other side. To live in love at night. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you.
You have got a great and powerful voice.
Thank you.
Do you like the sound of your voice?
I didn't used to at all, because I don't sound like anybody that I like. I also don't like female vocalists primarily. Like my main inspirations besides Patsy Cline. And then obviously like there's the gamut of like obvious women that I'm inspired by, like Susie Sue, Chrissy Hine, Pat Benatar, Kate Bush, like way more than that. But I like male vocalists better, mainly due to the fact that I don't like it when people get too complicated with the melody. Like I don't like Annie Lennox at all. And it's because she runs all over the melody. It drives me crazy. And so that's something that I'm pretty picky about. And I think it led to me not liking my voice initially. And I also spent, like, the way that I learned to sing was like, oh, I like this artist, so I'm going to try my best to sound just like her. And then I'd flip to a different one. So there was like a lot of me trying to figure out what my voice even was, because I could sound like Cher, I could sound like Pat Benatar, I could sound like Chrissy Hine, and those are different voices that I
very much so,
could just like, there are those people on cruise ships that can like go and like imitate like 40 different people, like I could probably do that. Like it's just fun for me, and I grew up manipulating my vocals. So it definitely took a while for me to figure out what my voice was. And then when I did figure out what my voice was, I was like, oh, I don't like that. But then everyone else was like, no, it's cool. And I was like, okay.
Very cool.
Thank you. And so like I've grown into it at this point. And I don't know particularly if I would say that I like my voice, but I'm not insecure about it at all anymore. Yeah, sometimes I don't know if I would listen to Rosegarden if I wasn't in it.
Okay.
But my voice is my voice, and I'm going to keep singing.
I like
That's my answer.
You've got that low, powerful register. And
I can
you can
thank
really
Cher for that.
Right. You can belt it out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really great. You're always great in all the videos, in my opinion, that you make.
Thank you.
Your emotions almost jump out of the screen. Have you ever thought about acting?
I've got kind of a weird view on acting. And I think it kind of makes me seem like a scary person when I say it, but I'm not. I think actors are just good liars. And there's kind of this like element to them that I find a little sociopathic. It's like, you can cry like that on command. Like, do you feel real emotions, or do you just,
Good question. Are you just acting?
Or are you just acting? Yeah. Like, because that's what sociopaths do and psychopaths do. They watch people interact and they figure out how to look like a normal person and act like a normal person. Even their subconscious does it. Some of them don't even know that they're not actually experiencing emotion. They're just like, oh, this would make me sad, so I'm sad now. In those music videos, a lot of it's not acting. Like most of it's not acting. Like the music video for Ill and Getting Worse,
I love that.
Cried the whole time. The whole time. Genuine tears, like really had a hard time. Like my sweet, wonderful, incredible videographer, Aaron Devaney, of All House Productions, who's done all of our music videos, and I were, very emotional on set that. And that was a massive bonding experience for us. That music video is my favorite. And I did it to kind of show that, like, I did it to break the Instagram persona. Like, I wanted to do a music video where people saw my place trashed and saw me, like, not looking awesome. And, not to say, like, I always look awesome. Like, I'm just saying that, like, I wasn't in drag, like for half that music video. And it's because like, I wanted to show like that they're like, even the people who seem like they have perfect lives don't, and there's no one that does. And, I'm getting emotional just like thinking about shooting that video. That like she had asked me if, she could come over and shoot a video, and I immediately thought like, shit, I gotta clean the apartment because
get ready.
I've kind of been down lately and it's a wreck. Like depression apartment. Like we've all had at one point there's clothes everywhere and plates and glasses and bottles, and then I thought, nope, I'm not gonna clean it. I'm not gonna do my makeup. and we're just going to shoot it like this.
Natural.
For half of the scenes. And then you know, the other half of the scene is like the other side of me, the side of me that is sitting with you right now, with the one with all my friends and my support. And that's, you know, another cool thing that we did in that music video that I always like to point out to people is that, like, when we have like all those different people playing our instruments and there are those pieces of paper on them,
remember that.
those are the names of the bands that those people are in. So we were doing that to be like, go listen to those bands. And even at the end of the video, like, we roll the credits and like you can see their whole, like, their names and then their band's names. And I don't know, that, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that here in a minute.
Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, no, that, like, the emotion that you see in the videos is real. Like, even in the latest when we did Fade to Black, which is by far the song that hurts me the most to even think about.
Why is that?
Because I wrote it like 2 weeks before the whole thing blew up.
Ah.
So like I think of it, it's like I'll crumble if this fades to black, and I'm like, it did. But you know, like that video when I'm like sitting on the red couch and I'm like looking at the camera and like the boys left, like, because they just didn't want to watch me cry. Like the emotions are real. Rosegarden is me trying to better myself and get over trauma. And I guess that's why I write the songs. And I release it and do Rosegarden in the hopes that it'll help others the same way it's helping me.
A great cause.
So thank you. Thank you.
Helping others through your own music.
Yeah.
And your own trials and tribulations.
Yeah. I mean, I hope it helps. And people have told me that it helps. And that's what I think keeps me going when I'm like, I don't want it. I think that
more of this.
Yeah, exactly. This is horrible. Coronavirus is ruining everything. And I'm like, no, but I got to keep doing it because, you know,
because it's you.
Yeah, it's me. And every once in a while that someone sends me a message or like comes up to me at a show and it's like, you're saving people. Like, you're making a difference. I'm like, okay, well, that will keep me going for the next 4 years. Like, I just need one and be like, 4 years, we're good.
Well, here we go. You're touching people with your music.
I hope so. I hope so always.
Back to the videos. What are you trying to accomplish style-wise in your videos?
Well, I guess our videos have a theme. They all kind of have the same aesthetic. And that is because we work with one videographer for everything, like I said earlier, and she's amazing. I found her because I posted a Facebook status that just said, like, when Rosegarden first started, I said, does anyone want to make a Rosegarden Funeral Party video? And someone commented her name, and I had no idea who she was. I didn't watch her work. I didn't do anything. I was just like, okay, that's my girl. And I like sent her a message and I was like, let's do a music video. You don't know me, but hi. And then we did our first music video together. Found out that she was my age. She was a horror movie director. Like, she has an entire
Perfect.
Yeah, she's an entire sleeve of tattoos, completely dedicated to The Shining. Like, she is awesome. And she's actually an amazing musician in her own right too. She's in a band called Springtime and the Changes. But she's got her own aesthetic and her own brand that she mixes really beautifully with ours, you know. So I think style-wise, as far as the videos are concerned, I'm really attempting to make it a connection between Aaron and I's both of our aesthetics, and to see how it progresses as the years go on. That's why I'm only working with one, is because I want one visualist, like, to do my music videos, because I want us both to grow together. I want the songs to grow with the videos, and I want her to grow as an artist as I grow as an artist. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing that I haven't really heard of any other examples of people doing. I also work primarily with one live photographer who's my best friend. I have already made the promise to her and to myself that she will always be our road photographer, because in the same it's the same theme. I'm also like loyal to a fault. Like, I'm like, oh, you forever now. Like, and I'm very like, this is my tribe. And I look for good people who are going to uphold the same values that we uphold.
Great idea.
Yeah.
I think you definitely have a plan.
Yes, always.
This is good.
Thank you.
kind of a map. If you don't have a map, how are you going to get where you? That's exactly right. How did you come up with the band's name?
Well, it was a beautiful serendipitous moment.
One of those.
Yeah, one of those. Well, the band was originally called Sway, and we had different songs and a different lineup. And when we started to take the band more seriously, we were like, there's about 1 billion bands named Sway. We have to change the name. So we looked into a whole bunch of different band names. I mean, Evergreen was one of them. There was a really bad one that we almost settled on called 62 Reissue because all our guitars were 62 reissues. We woke up the next morning and we were like, let's not call it that. Let's definitely not call it that. But Rosegarden Funeral Party happened because I was sitting in my apartment and I had my laptop playing music on shuffle, and Rosegarden Funeral of Sores, the Bauhaus version, not the John Cale, came up. And then right after that, it played Funeral Party by The Cure. And I was like, oh,
there's the name.
Rosegarden Funeral Party. And then I also liked it because it reminds me, and still does, even like more than it reminds me of the 2 songs it's named after, it reminds me of that song Deep in the Woods by The Birthday Party. Because he goes, deep in the woods, a funeral is swinging. And I love that because it's like a funeral party. And then I think the rose garden aspect of it is like a very like you think of a rose, like they're beautiful and feminine and red and passionate, but they've got these thorns. And I love the concept of roses like so much. So it's all of that together. It's like brutality and like a broken-hearted femininity with like this kind of like forget it, let's just party. So
a lot of imagery.
Yeah, I love imagery.
I can tell.
Yeah.
From the Rosegarden Funeral Party website, use these words: gentility, humility, graciousness, and kindness. Why did you choose those words?
I think because that's my life goal. Like the goal that like if Rosegarden doesn't get any bigger than it is right now, I don't care as long as I know that I have been humble and gracious and gentle and kind.
Wonderful.
And because I believe in being a good person above everything else. And I wasn't always that way. I think experiencing the worst of the worst can either do 2 things to you. It can either make you terrible and just like the people who hurt you, or it can make you want to just wage war on assholes. So this is my war on assholes, and our nuclear weapon is killing them with kindness. So we'll see how it works. I said all this in an interview one time, and someone goes, well, that's not very goth. And I was like, I think it's goth. I don't care. That's what it is.
Whatever it is, it's a wonderful statement.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's why we say be kind to each other. We love you. Because, okay, sorry.
We're going to talk about that. The end of the video for the song Ill and Getting Worse provides a written proclamation. It states that other artists save your life. You mentioned that. Mm-hmm. You go on to say, and I quote, "It is an eternal thank you to our friends and an encouragement to support their art as you support ours. It is a lesson in faith and a depiction of my dark night of the soul and my salvation through letting true love in." Can you tell us why you wrote that?
Well, that whole written proclamation at the end of Ill and Getting Worse was because it was obviously very important to me that people knew exactly what that music video was. The people in that video really did save my life. When my big relationship ended, I lost like kind of my whole identity. And I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do up from that point because I never thought it was going to end. Mm-hmm. And so those people in that video were the people that came around me. Like, they're my army of angels. Like, they weren't people I necessarily knew at the time when we ended. Most of them entered my lives after the fact. And so it's been this really incredible exploratory experience like finding out that there's actually really good people in the world, and finding out that there was really good, genuine, sweet, honest people in the world. Like, it gave me hope. It gave me faith. And I love all of them so much. Like, I owe so much to them. And I don't know, I'm getting all choked up.
That's okay.
And it is a depiction of like my dark night of the soul. Like, I did go through a period of time where I didn't want to, do it anymore. Like, do the life thing anymore. I don't want to use heavy terms.
I understand.
But, and it was the bonds that I made with these artists that pulled me out of that gave me faith again, that ignited me with a feeling of like, oh, we can make a better life for ourselves, and we can give that to other people too.
So they healed you or helped?
Yeah,
heal
they
you.
did. They did, yeah.
Wonderful thoughts.
Thank you.
Additionally, you stated the following, and I quote again, "You're never broken. Take charge. It's never over. You always have a choice." What made you write those insightful phrases?
Because it's just true. Like, I mean, I really, really believe that you always have a choice. Like, you always, I also, speaking to what I was just talking about, I got to a bad place, and I've had a person who was super close to me commit suicide, and I didn't know the circumstances. Like, I didn't know why he did it. He was someone I was working with. He was like my first band's manager. And that statement, you always have a choice, extends beyond ending your own life. Obviously, it's you always have a choice to change your current situation. You always have a choice to not accept that abuse, and to recognize if you're experiencing abuse, or get out of a bad situation if you're in a bad situation. Like, you always have the opportunity to say no. And I think that the take charge, it's never over, those are me talking to everybody that might be hurting and thinking about giving up from what I needed to tell myself at the time. I was like, you're fine, get it done. Like, so I think that written proclamation might have like part of the psychiatrist and the emotional wreck in it. And I think you just picked out the two different sides. But yeah, I wrote that because I want people to know that it gets better. It really does. Like, you can actually come back from it. You just have to work for it. I think a lot of people get depressed, and then they're like, this will never get better. And they don't do anything to not be depressed anymore. And then I wonder why they keep being depressed. And it's like, clean your house, wash your clothes, go get a coffee, like jog around the block. You know what I mean? Like, do something, but don't waste your days waiting for happiness to come to you. It's not going to come.
It's too precious.
Yeah, it's too precious. Nothing worth fighting for comes easy. You know what I mean? Like,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, like, if you want to be full of life and love and inspiration, you've got to make that for yourself in a lot of capacities. Like, I had to, and I didn't start out doing that. There was a lot of being not a great, person to myself. And there was a moment when I realized, like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know how to be a person. So I'm just going to go with what I know is fundamentally right, which is being humble and kind and gentle and honest and doing and acting, doing unto others as they would, as you would have them do to you, the golden rule. Like, that, the whole thing. It just, if you go out and make it for yourself, it'll be okay. I don't know. I'm rambling.
No.
Sorry.
It does sound like you knew what to be as a person. Mm-hmm. You just had a little bump in the road, and now all of a sudden you realize, I realize it's always there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
You end the video with a statement, "Be kind to each other. We love you." Mm-hmm. This is really good advice.
Thank you.
Rosegarden Funeral Party's image seems to project sadness, anxiety, and darkness, and yet the previous statements seem to be opposing those ideas. Do you agree with what I just said?
Yeah, I mean, they go hand in hand though, because I am a dark, sad, anxious person. But I love you, and I want you to be kind to each other, and I want you to be kind to yourself, and I'll be kind to you. We're dark, sad, and anxious, and we want to help because we get it, and we're sorry that you feel that way too. And I say it at my shows on stage all the time. You know, I say, like, be kind to each other, we love you, and those aren't just things that we say. They're things that we mean. Our DMs are always open. If you feel alone and you don't have somebody to talk to, DM us. Me, Will, Dylan, like, we're here for you. And we've taken on that role of, like, we're going to be angels. Like, we're going to fight back against just mean-spirited people. And, you know, sometimes it takes a long time to see that someone's hurting you, especially when you're primed to accept abuse.
Of course.
You know, so we've really gotten the band to a place where I know Dylan and Will, I know their whole hearts, I know everything about them, and they are really and truly gentle, sweet, humble, compassionate human beings that really care. And those are the kinds of people I want in this, like, family, and so that we can help people. So the be kind to each other, we love you thing, and it goes hand in hand with the theme of the music, because the be kind to each other, we love you is the it's never over. It's the take charge. It's the find your own happiness. Like, we're here for you. We've also been through it, and we can tell you it gets better. So
what an inspiration.
Thank you. Thanks.
Tell us about your involvement with the band Deep Red.
I love Deep Red. Deep Red is it's a duo, but we have a whole band of musicians that plays with us live. But it's me and Scott White, who is an incredible singer, songwriter, and guitarist, and composer, and lyricist, and friend, and mentor, and, like, bud, drinking buddy. Like, he's the best. I met him. So Deep Red started because Scott posted an Instagram story that said, like, does anyone care about traditional shoegaze? And I was like, me, a whole bunch, and no one else does. They call it another term for that genre is the scene that celebrates itself, because the only people that like it are the people who play it. So I love it, and I responded, and it quickly became one of those conversations like, do you like these three bands? Yes. Do you like these three bands? These are back and forth. And he was like, dude, we've got to start a band together. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, everyone says that, and nothing ever happens. And he was like, send me a song. And so I sent him, like, this, of course, like, my kind of demo, which is just me and an acoustic guitar, like we talked about earlier. And he took it and made it like a full song, like a full giant song. And it sounded exactly like all the shoegaze that I had grown up adoring. And, you know, it sounded like Slow Dive and Lilies and Secret Shine and Pale Saints. And I just sat in my car. I was working at Sam Ash at the time. I was, like, sitting outside of Sam Ash just weeping. Like, I was like, I can't believe that I'm in a shoegaze band. And Scott and I have been writing music together for a year now, or a little over a year. And we just put out an EP called Before You Leave. And that EP really, really, really has been so impactful and important for me. And Scott's mental health, both. Like, it's an outlet, and it's in the same way that Rosegarden is a cathartic kind of therapeutic experience. It's the same. But I always describe the differences between Deep Red and Rosegarden as, like, Deep Red is, and this is just lyrically speaking, but Deep Red is, like, while you're crying. Like, it's the like, rush of emotion with almost, like, no rationality, you know? Yeah, so the way that I've always described the difference is like, so Deep Red is, you know, the initial reaction. It's while you're crying. There's not a lot of rationality there. It's like, if you stub your toe in the middle of the night, you're like, ah, you know? And then you walk back to your bedroom and you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. It hurts, but I'll get over it. So, like, it hurts, but I'll get over it is Rosegarden. And you don't blame, you know, the table. I mean, but you walked into it, you know. It's more, there's more of a like a retrospective aspect to Rosegarden. Deep Red is way more like in the moment. So my lyrics in Deep Red are like more volatile and a little bit less, I mean, they're a little melodramatic. You know what I mean? Not to say Rosegarden isn't melodramatic, but Deep Red's more
there's
so.
a streak of melodrama in you, I think. So regardless of what you're going to be writing.
Yeah,
so.
even more of a streak than my blonde.
What
the
future?
melodrama's black.
What future projects are you planning?
I am okay. So I have Deep Red, and I have Rosegarden Funeral Party, and then I'm also in a Cure tribute band called Le Cure. I just play guitar, but then I also started a band with my best friend in the world recently called High Life, the Champagne of Bands. And
Great name.
Thank you. It started because it started as a joke. Obviously, with a name like that, like it started as a joke. So one day, Vera, who's Vicious Velma, the photographer, she came to visit me at work. She's like, "How you doing, man?" And I was like, "Not good. Just one of those days. Like, I'm not feeling it today." She was like, "Well, I'll come over tonight and we'll drink beer." And she talks like that. She's like, "I'll come over tonight, we'll drink beer, and we'll listen to punk rock, okay? You're gonna be fine. Come on!" Ah! And so I'm like, "All right, cool, let's do it." So she came over that night. She had like a 6-pack of Miller High Life. And I was like, "Why did you bring that?" Because we never had it. Like, I'd never had that to drink with her before. We would always drink Modelo. And so, or PBR. And so that was out of the ordinary. And she goes, "Because it's the most rock and roll beer, baby." I'm like, "All right, awesome."
There's the name.
Yeah, so we like sat down and we started listening to punk rock. And I was like, "Gosh, I want to be in a punk rock band so badly." And she's like a true punk. And she was like, "Okay, let's start a band." And I was like, "We could call it Miller High Life." And she's like, "All right." And then we had, it's funny too, because originally it was going to be called Miller High Life, but we were going to say like the Miller is silent. It was Miller in parentheses, High Life. And then we changed it to High Life, Champagne of Bands, because it's funnier. And then we had our first rehearsal to prepare for our show, which is actually on Sunday. Like, our first show is 2 days from now. And we were at rehearsal, and we realized that all of my songs were super serious and angry, and all of her songs were super serious and angry. And we're like, maybe that name is kind of unfitting for the band, but the Facebook page is already up. We're not changing it. It's High Life, the Champagne of Bands.
Great name.
Thanks.
What song would you like to take us out with?
I'm going to play a song that's also on the new EP called Tortured Decline. This one just translates better on acoustic. I'm sorry for some of the things I have said, and others I don't feel bad at all. I worry 'cause I don't feel bad at all. Is that a problem or is it fine? Is this psychosis only mine and mine alone? And mine alone. 'Cause I'm losing sleep over you. I'd you sleep next to somebody new. I see a to somebody new. And I see a torture decline every night. Oh, I see a torture decline, oh decline, oh decline. Oh, I see a torture decline, oh decline, oh decline. I see a torture decline. Woo!
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Leah Lane, thank you so much for being part of the world of Texas music. This is Andrew Clendenin with the World of Texas Music. On the web at WTXM.org. Come visit us there. We'll respond to emails from you. We'd like your comments. Thanks for listening.